Okay, guys, me again. Footbox TV. This is my post-fight review of the big pay-per-view clash we had this weekend with Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. Before I start the preview, just talking about the actual event. A bit interesting. So it was on ITV, free TV. Uncle Al Heyman has bought, he's doing PBC on boxing in the UK, and this is the second pay-per-view show they've had which was pay-per-view in America, first being Pacquiao and Broner, and it's the second one that was free. So, it's interesting times, good for us guys. You know, Eddie Hearn is still doing his pay-per-views over here, but he's bringing the zone and streaming in America, which for $10 I'd pay for, but we don't have that yet. So it's nice to, with all these pay-per-views we've been getting over here from BT, ITV, Sky Sports, obviously, it's nice to get some free boxing. So yeah, and the actual fight itself, yeah, it was a big fight. Just if you go and look at the actual ring walkouts, it was a spectacular, amazing stuff. So 47,000 people in Dallas. So I know the stadium's 90,000, but that's a big gate in America. They don't really do big gates like that. They tend to do small venues, and then obviously put the ticket prices a bit higher, like the MGM and stuff like that. It was about 12,000. So yeah, so it was a big event. So on to the actual fight itself, and fight pretty much it played out like I thought it would play out, with Spence getting the victory and dominating, and the weight made a difference. But what was surprising, and what surprised most people, and again I touched on this in my preview to the fight. Mikey Garcia's confidence was coming from the fact that maybe he sees Earl Spence as a bit of a basic boxer, and thinks that because he doesn't really have that boxing background, and he does, that's where he could get an advantage. Maybe that was one of the reasons why he called him out. And I did say that Garcia's boxing skills were better than Spence, but I thought that Spence's skills were underrated, and, and that's what it proved to be. Earl Spence didn't just bully Mikey Garcia; he outboxed him, which surprised a lot of people. Now, maybe if they was at the same weight, we don't know. Maybe he probably wouldn't. We don't know if he would have outboxed him. But what happened was that Earl Spence decided, well, for the first 9 rounds anyway, he decided that, I'm gonna use my natural advantages: the height, the reach, better athleticism, better on my feet, and speed, and better boxing intelligence. So it seemed, to basically beat Mikey Garcia at his own punch. Mikey Garcia, Spence was just hitting him with that jab, and Garcia couldn't come in. Spence is 5'10", Garcia's 5'6". He's got a much longer reach, Spence, and he just used his natural boxing skills and boxing ability to beat up Mikey Garcia. He really was, like, he really did beat him up. Garcia had no, I did say in the build up, I don't see what's so special about Mikey Garcia. Why? And so it proved. He looked lost at times in there. He couldn't get on the inside. And when he did get on the inside, Spence's strength was so telling that he didn't want to he didn't want to be there. So he couldn't get past that jab, and when he did, the strength was there. So he really had nothing to negate Earl Spence with. Literally, he was getting picked up on the jab. Spence was using his high work rate, pivoting, hitting him with lefts whenever he wanted to, and it really was just a dominant performance. Mikey, the few times he did get in there, and another thing I touched on, and he did land big shots on Spence, it didn't face Spence. Why would it? Spence is a big welterweight. He's a big boy. Really, truly, he should be fighting at 154, maybe 160. So those shots, Mikey's got power at lower weights, but it wasn't phasing Spence at all. He just walked. Any shot he hit him with, he walked through, and it was just a dominant performance from Earl Spence. The last 9 rounds, Derek James in the corner said, "You know what? We've shown we can box, and just walk him down now, walk him down." And if you look at the punch outputs, Earl Spence threw more punches in the last 10, 11, 12, 9th round, which some judges scored a 10-8 round. He was really going in, just walking forward, walking the smaller man down, letting off shots when he needed to, and it really was just a dominant boxing performance from Earl Spence. And, you know, obviously the weight, I said that ultimately the weight would make a difference, but the boxing was, I didn't think he would outbox Mikey Garcia like that. You know, I thought that Mikey Garcia was a better boxer, but it turned out not to be. And like I said, we don't know if they was at the same weights, whether that would have been true. But yeah, it was a dominant performance. Kind of main themes to take away from that. Well, if we start with Mikey Garcia, I saw an interesting interview with Andre Ward, and they were asking him, "Is this a good moral victory for Mikey Garcia?" Because we're coming into this fight, everybody would have said Mikey Garcia's got nothing to lose, everything to gain, and Errol Spence has kind of got everything to lose and not really much to gain because he beat up a smaller man. But it really turned out to be the opposite. You know, Andre Ward said there's no moral victory in a loss, and Mikey Garcia, it's hard to say and it's tough to say because he did go in there and he did call out Errol Spence. So I don't want to say his stock has decreased, but a lot of people did not see him getting outboxed, and he really got dominated for 12 rounds. You know, if you look at the judges' scorecards, they gave Spence every single round. One judge gave it 1 round, I believe round 9, a 10-8 round. So that's a pure dominant shutout. And, you know, Mikey Garcia was just surviving. You know, once he felt the power in the second round, he did not want it. And he really was just surviving. His main thing was, you know, I'll go 12 rounds and say I went in there with the most fearsome boxer and get some credit for that. And normally you would expect that, but because he was so dominant, you know, it didn't really, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say it's less than his stock. Let's just say his stock is the same. But yeah, that was it. You know, sometimes just surviving doesn't, going in there with a fearsome punch and just surviving, you know, you don't really get credit for that. So, and then obviously the other thing was, yeah, Errol Spence's boxing ability. He's now, when we look at the big clashes, when we look at the Crawfords, when we look at the Furmans, the one advantage they had over him was that, you know, they're better boxers. You know, Furman's better on his feet, Crawford's got a better boxing brain, and he's a better boxer. He's a southpaw switch hitter, orthodox southpaw. You know, that was the advantages why people were saying 50-50. So Spence's raw bullying ability and their kind of boxing brain, like classic case of a boxer versus a puncher. But we've seen now that Spence can box. You know, he can box. He's just not just a puncher. So, you know, that is making him even more dangerous now. Like, really and truly, if I'm Keith Furman now looking at Errol Spence, I'm thinking, I didn't want this guy before, so I definitely don't want him now because he can actually box. And the same as Crawford, you know. So that's one of the things that's come out of that is that, yeah, Spence is the real deal, though. He is the truth. You know, he said he's the truth and he is the truth. Like I said before, I didn't think it was a 50-50 fight. I thought it was getting billed like that, but I didn't think it was. You know, I think the weight, and again, we saw just domination. It wasn't a 50-50 fight. So we have to still see, in my opinion, Errol Spence in with a guy his same weight, and then we'll be able to see, you know how really good he is, and then especially if he was to step up to 154 and fight. You know, he's not going to fight the Charlos because he's cool with them. So he can fight the other guy, the Jamie Munguia, and he can fight the other guys, just the other belt holder who's got 2 belts, which is literally, got him in my head, but he's, I forgot his name. So he could fight him because then he's not on that side. But it'll be kind of interesting, and that leads me to kind of where they go. Mikey Garcia, where does he go? You know, Derek James said after the fight that after beating like that, Garcia will never be the same, and he might have a point. You know, we saw with Kell Brook, you know, same thing again, went up in weight, rushed it. You know, going up in weight, you can go up in weight, but you need to take your time. Andre Ward went up to 175. That's one weight class. He had 2 warm-up fights before he did that. You know, you can go up in weight, but you can take your time, or you can go up in weight and fight somebody to win a title. But Canelo did it. He went up in weight to 168 recently, but he didn't fight an elite guy. He fought Rocky Fielding, who is not an elite fighter, you know, and Canelo is. Now, had Canelo gone up in weight and fought Callum Smith, then wow, you know what I mean? I would not be putting my money on Canelo. And Canelo's amazing. So weight is there for a reason. So Mikey Garcia, what does he do? Well, obviously he goes back down. Where does he go back down to? At 140, you've got killers there. And the killers are tied up. You've got Rodriguez, you've got Taylor, they're in the tournament. You've got Ramirez, but he's with Top Rank. So probably not lucrative at 140. So obviously the big fight is for him at 135, Lomachenko. But can he get back down to 135? And if he does get back down to 135, is he going to be effective? So, and again, now his stock has dropped. So any kind of bargaining power he did have with Top Rank, then definitely not going to be, you know, bending to his wishes. But then maybe at the same time they see him vulnerable, so maybe they'll think, oh, you know what, he's not really that good. Coming down in weight, he might be weight drained now, so he might be more vulnerable. So let's give him a bit more leeway to make the fight happen, because now we have more advantages. So that does happen in boxing. So really and truly, that's probably the best bet for him to go. Or maybe he can go back down and persuade somebody like a Tank to come up to 135, and Tank might take the risk thinking he's weight drained. But yeah, he's got some thinking to do. Errol Spence, where does he go? They're trying to make him a pay-per-view star, you know. They're trying to make him a pay-per-view star. His first pay-per-view, I'm sure a lot of people were impressed with him. So that's the road they're going. And, you know, after the fight, Manny Pacquiao stepped in the ring. And I've only got one thing to say to that. Manny, don't do it. Manny, do not do it. Because, you know, Errol Spence is a beast, and Pacquiao is nearly 40 years old. You know, in boxing, you have this tradition where the older generation tends to get knocked off for the new generation. Recent examples when Oscar De La Hoya fought Julius Caesar Chavez. Chavez was coming to the end. De La Hoya beat him, became the new star. Floyd Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya was coming to the end of his career. Floyd Mayweather became the new superstar. Floyd stopped that trend. He retired. He was in the crowd at Dallas. He was not trying to fight no Errol Spence, because he knows, he don't want that work, and he's gonna stay retired. But Pacquiao, for some reason, he's jumping into the ring, and he wants that work. And you know, Pacquiao signed with Al Heyman to get the Mayweather fight. That's why he signed with Al Heyman. Sign with us, we'll give you Broner, easy work. Then you'll get, potentially if Floyd comes back to boxing, you're the biggest fight for him, you'll get that fight. Floyd is not coming back. So he's got one fight left with PBC. And obviously the biggest fight for him now is Errol Spence, because Errol Spence is on pay-per-view. And Errol Spence will still bend to Pacquiao's wishes, you know, apart from maybe location, I'm pretty sure. You know, quick turnaround as well. I think Pacquiao wants to fight in June, so maybe he could get a quick turnaroround on Spence. But please, Pacquiao, don't do it, because Spence will walk through him and just it would be bad. It'll be brutal. You even saw in the ring the size difference, so hopefully don't do it. If not Pacquiao, Sean Porter, you know, I don't think Sean Porter is a 50-50 fight, but it's definitely going to be more competitive than the Mikey Garcia fight, just for the simple fact of the weight. Porter's a big boy, never been knocked out. I think Broner knocked him down, but he's never been knocked out. So just for that simple fact, I think that's a good fight for next, like a good competitive fight. But obviously the fight I would like to see is the Crawford fight. I did want to see the Furman fight, but you know, Furman, you know, if I was Furman, I'll take 1 or 2 fights before I fight Spence, because Spence has got all the momentum and he's just looking amazing right now. So I would take 1 or 2 fights before I fight Spence if I was Furman. And obviously the Crawford fight, but that fight, like I said, Crawford's on the other side. When is that going to happen? You know, and I want it to happen when they're in their primes, but you know, and every day it goes on, people want more. Now Spence has done his first pay-per-view. He's probably going to want more the money. Crawford is doing his pay-per-view with Khan. If he comes through that successfully, Khan's a big name. He's going to want more money. Where does it really end? So, yeah, that's well. I think in the short term, I would like to see Spence fight Porter. I think that's a fairly even fight. Obviously Pacquiao would be the bigger fight, and I understand why he would take that fight, because it is the much bigger fight. But I just don't want to see Pacquiao go out like that. I'm not Pacquiao's biggest fan. I've always been on the Mayweather side of the equation, but I wouldn't want to see him go out like that, because it would be vicious for him. I'd like Pacquiao to kind of, you know, maybe fight Furman. He's not all that, so like maybe, you know, do something like that. But Pacquiao wants it, he wants to go out in his shield. He's got a hungry lion in front of him that's willing to take his head off. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. But like I said, I want to see the 50-50 fights when it's pay-per-view and it's big. I want to see the 50-50 fights. The guys where fighters are both in their prime, weight is not an issue. That's what I want to see, and then hopefully we'll get that soon. All right, thanks for checking out, guys. Look out for my next video. Footbox TV.